Hello, and welcome to Barbatus Catholic Podcast, the show where three Mexican dads talk about faith, life, and culture. We are your hosts,
Gustavo,
Ivan,
and Walter, and today we are going to talk about Father's Day. But first, a word from our sponsor. How can you teach your children to live their Catholic faith beyond the walls of your parish? One way is to engage your family's values in a Catholic healthcare option like CMF Curo. CMF Curo is an affordable Catholic healthcare ministry that's perfect for growing families and that's rooted in church teachings. CMF Curo members share medical burdens in community, have access to a spiritual director, concierge services, health and spiritual resources, and more. Learn more about CMF Curo at mycatholichealthcare.com. That's mycatholichealthcare.com. Welcome back. We missed you. That's so dumb. Yeah.
I did miss people.
Sometimes. You who are listening in Denmark, why have you not listened to the podcast again?
Exactly. He gave us 3 shots and then he just was like,
that was someone in Spain who listened to like the first 3 and was like, yeah, no, I'm not.
This is not for me.
Not for me. ¿Por qué no hablan castellano?
Maybe they thought they were going to learn Spanish.
Maybe.
And they were like disappointed. They were like, I need to learn Spanish.
I don't think we are false advertising the podcast.
No, totally not.
There's a whole lot of Spanglish going on, but
a whole lot, a ton. But that's okay.
Un titipuchal.
Take it to that next level.
Titipuchal means a lot.
A metric ton. Which we talk about how the metric system is superior to the imperial system. And how and why the U.S. refuses to adopt it. It's like the only country in the world. I'm very passionate about this topic, as you can tell. We don't have to talk about that. This is a very weird banter.
I think titipuchal is the equivalent of a cubit for you to read scripture.
Oh my goodness! I almost spit out my.
I think that's where it came from.
You're ridiculous.
Titipuchal. Yeah, a cubit.
Okay, tell me your best dad joke. Go.
They usually just flow out of me.
I know
it's on the spot like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it has to be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should ask you, Walter, give us your best dad joke. I feel like you have a book.
Yes, the one that I tried on Diana. Excuse me. When we were dating and she laughed, thanks be to God, was, ¿qué le dijo una tabla a otra tabla? Tabla tu mamá.
Stupid.
Tabla tu mamá.
Yeah. My dad is really good at those.
Okay, ¿qué le dijo una uva verde a una uva morada?
Respira.
Respira, tonta, respira. I think we just lost about 12 listeners.
12 listeners.
Yeah, that was a PG-13 version of that.
Yeah. Because we're a family show.
We're a family show.
Había una vez un niño que se llamaba Resistol y un día se cayó y se pegó.
I knew you were going to say that one. That's your go-to.
That's like my go-to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We apologize for stealing 3.5 minutes of your
we
life.
can always get into Pepito jokes, but
yeah,
dude,
that's the R-rated version. That's the Patreon version.
They don't have.
That's the Patreon version.
They don't have to be, but the majority of them are very.
The majority of them are. Yeah, Pepito jokes are
Están colorados,
cool, dude. Yeah, I used to tell those like in 5th grade, man.
See, like that's the thing when I started to get into stand-up, it's like it's a blue comedian. It's like someone who's dirty in their comedy, right? Which in Mexico would be red.
Mm-hmm. Colorado.
So, yeah, like why would it? I don't get it. Like why blue is And anyways, if you know, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I would
Dad joke, right?
Dad joke.
When I was a kid, I would be like telling polo jokes like in elementary school. Dude.
But that's like thing, it's like polo is like the Richard Pryor of Mexico.
That's true.
So you would listen to those tapes and learn. It's like Otto and I, we still like we use punchlines from Polo in our conversation, in our daily conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, what you say, ingeniero chingón. For those who know Polo.
Have you seen like the cartoon versions of some of his jokes on YouTube?
Of course.
Oh, that's yes. So
like,
funny, man.
Whoever took the time to animate
those
things, my hat's off to you. That's dedication.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the Huevo cartoons?
Dude, Huevo Cartoon is like...
Gosh, man, they're so...
That is like early 2000s when everything in the internet was animated through Flash.
Oh, yeah.
Before HTML5. Did you do a lot of websites on Flash?
Not a lot. I did. I don't know. I can count them on one hand. I jumped into HTML pretty early on because I wasn't that good of an animator. And Flash was just like above my skill set. And it's not something that I dedicated time to refine either as a craft.
One of my cousins built a business around it.
Oh, yeah?
Like creating websites.
So he went out of business with the iPhone, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, he pivoted. So he still has the business.
I know, but Flash pretty much
died.
Steve Jobs killed Flash.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. It was a pain in the ass to animate in that thing.
Dude. I don't know. When I was learning multimedia in college, we were using this thing called Director. Remember Director? We were like trying to do like vectors move. What a horrible piece of software. Anyways.
That's pretty
that's like the technologist in me speaking. Well, welcome back. Like, what am I saying? I'm not making any sense.
I now just figured out why you started with the dad joke thing. It didn't dawn on me until this very second.
Are you serious?
No, yeah. I'm not even kidding. I was like, wow, Walter.
I have been kind of like hit and miss with the segues. Either I like hit it right in the bullseye, or completely.
And I just look so confused and I look at Gustavo like shrugging. Like,
yeah.
Why are we talking about this?
¿Dónde va este güey?
Pourquoi? But yeah. Let's talk about dads, fathers, fatherhood. Papás, padres, papacitos.
Padre.
Like,
Qué padre.
Qué padre. What father? For those who speak English.
What father?
Qué padre. Y si lo dices en el otro, father, what? Es papá, ¿qué? That was a bit from a comedian in Monterrey. You can hear all the cars.
Yep. It's fine.
Do you want me to close the...
No, people will understand.
We should probably just say, so we're in the garage.
It's very
Today
hot.
is March 31st when we're recording this.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in Arizona, so it gets hot here pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we recorded one episode before this, and it was burning up in here.
Yeah.
And we opened the garage door. We stepped outside, and we were like, "Oh, this feels so nice." So we're like, "Hey, let's just kind of leave it a little bit open, get some airflow."
So, any background noise is just gonna add to the
ambience, it's only like it's 75 outside. It's not even that, but my garage it runs pretty.
It's
warm.
like little ovens. Garages are ovens in Arizona.
So if you live in Phoenix or the metro area, North Phoenix, let's just narrow it down to North Phoenix, and you have a space that we can use to record indoors,
air conditioned
around 40th Street and Greenway,
around that area. We're not picky, but within a 5-mile radius, and it's free to use.
Mm-hmm.
We can pay you an advertisement.
Yeah, maybe. Depending on what you sell, too. I mean,
that's true. Hit us up. We might be interested for season 2. All right, Gustavo. Kick it off since you prepped the notes for this one.
Yeah, so since we did like an episode on Mother's Day, very, very important topic to hit. We want to make sure that we recognize both our wives and our mothers and Our Lady, as a mother to us all. But with that, we didn't want to discount fathers around Father's Day, which is around when this episode is going to be launching. So we wanted to touch a couple of points that's kind of like a little checklist for things that every Catholic dad should know about fatherhood. Whether you're already a dad, whether you're contemplating marriage and fatherhood in the future, we want to have some useful information in the podcast for once. No, I'm kidding. But we want to make sure that you take this and kind of like apply it to yourself and say, well, where are the areas that I'm kind of like lacking, or where can I improve? What can I strive for? So this came from an article online, and we'll link to it in the show notes. So 8 things that every Catholic dad should know. The first one, and we'll go through the list of it, and then we'll just like open it up to commentary. Encounter with God the Father. So one really can't give what doesn't have,
Mm-hmm.
So many of us have the blessing to have grown up with fathers. As we've talked about in the podcast here, we touch on dads when we talked about St. Joseph a little bit. But some people don't have that in their lives. But in either case, the source of fatherhood must always come from above. And any man who really seeks to be a good father and ignores God the Father will inevitably fall short. So we really got to be aware of how we're introducing or how we are keeping God in our lives to kind of like lead us in that aspect of fatherhood, to be good leaders, So that's number one. Number 2 is conversion.
Hang on.
Yep.
In your prayer life, do you direct your prayer to God the Father?
Both, to all 3.
To the Holy Spirit?
And Our Lady.
Because I was thinking, specific prayers that we have to God the Father, well, the Mass, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's like
Jesus, right?
It Jesus or the Holy. There are specific prayers to Jesus and the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
The Divine Mercy Chaplet, right? Eternal Father, I offer you the body and blood, soul and divinity of your dearly beloved Son, our Lord Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Which I just discovered that because parentheses, Hallow has the Divine Mercy Chaplet led by
Mm-hmm.
what's the name of the actor that plays Jesus in The Chosen?
Jonathan Rumi.
Which we should probably do an episode on.
We
The
should.
Chosen.
Definitely.
After we watch season 2. But I was praying with Lucia this week, and I was like, it clicked. It's like, this is a prayer to God
Mm-hmm.
the Father, which it's not very usual. I don't know. In tradition, I just had that realization. I was like, I need to tell somebody. You're welcome, everybody who's listening.
Well, that's something to think about. Is a lot of times when we pray, is somebody asked me this one time. They're saying, like, who do you have a better relationship with, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit? And I was like, I feel like when I always pray, I always say Father, and I think it's because I have a father figure in my life, and I have a great father figure in my life, and I've had a lot of great father figures in my life. So I feel like naturally it was so easy for me to turn towards God the Father more.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I've met friends who, God the Son or God the Holy Spirit. I don't know about you guys, but
I think that I've heard especially statistics where the father is devout, it has a higher percentage of the children staying in the church
Mm-hmm.
through their teenage and college years. Um, I need to find like the link to.
I think it's in
those
the
numbers.
bishop's document.
Is it?
I think
I think
so,
it's
yeah.
probably
Mhm.
Into the Breach.
No, the other one, if it's not Into the Breach,
Complete
it's
My Joy?
Complete My Joy.
So many good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you have a good relationship with your earthly father, it is easier for you to accept the law of God as a father, or God the Father, and then
Mhm.
it always thought that it was really Jesus our brother, but yes, and adoption into the family of God, going from creature or creation into sonship through baptism. So yeah, if you have a good um, example of a father, it's easier for you to see God the Father
Mhm.
and model your own fatherhood after that. So let's keep moving.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So number one was no, you're good. So number one was encounter with God the Father. Number two is conversion. A good father must always be a man that's converting on a daily basis. Um, it, it says that any man that abandons his efforts to live a Christian life and who doesn't really encounter God the Father to transform him abandons simultaneously the most fundamental testimony that he can give to his children.
Mm.
So yes, I mean an encounter with God is not a passive one.
Mm.
It's an active one. Once you say yes and let God into your life, it will transform you.
Absolutely.
You cannot stay the same.
You cannot stay the same. So as Catholic men, as Catholic fathers, we have always that daily task to grow in virtue, to grow in closer to sainthood every single day. And that only happens if you have that disposition to be converted on a daily basis. Because fundamentally, we are sinners, right? Every day that we get up, we are sinners. And as fathers, we want to make sure that conversion is and go into it with an open mind, essentially, in an open heart, because we want God to convert us, because we can always get better, but we can always get worse too.
Right.
So
You're not improving. You are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which leads very well into number 3,
Mm-hmm.
to be a man of prayer. The conversion is going to breathe breaths. I cannot read.
Conversion, breaths, prayer.
I mean, it begets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't have that, conversion is this continuous knowledge of God, it's a what's the word? Metanoia, I think it's called, where it's like this divinization. I think we've talked about this in the podcast at some
Mm-hmm.
point, where I think, at least how I see it, and how my experience has been with conversion, is God like shines a spotlight, and then I go to that spotlight and I find something about the faith, and then there's another spotlight,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I'm tumbling through to like where I go see the light. So that has been like, in prayer, you get these things revealed when you go to read the Bible, or read works from the saints, the life of the saints, and all these other things that are revealing things about the faith to you, and helping with that conversion, that prayer.
And moving on to from men of prayer, we have understanding your true vocation. And us three, we're all married. So for those that are blessed to be married and have children, you must recognize that helping your families get to heaven and being good husbands and fathers, not just your business career, that's your real vocation. But even further than that, it's also like a specific vocation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, yeah, my vocation is to be married, but my specific vocation is to be married to Nayeli.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my specific vocation. My vocation is to be a father, but my specific vocation is to be a father to Lily and to Pia. And then our third baby that's on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my specific vocation. And to me, that's just, it's insane.
I'm so excited that you just said that, aren't I?
By the time this releases, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
but it's a specific vocation, and it's cool how Gustavo wrote here, like, is my work serving my family or is my family serving my work? Like, that's so true.
That's super important because some guys tend to think that that's their way of being a dad.
Yeah.
I just work. And that's my role. Our role is so much bigger than that.
And it's important to work.
It's
right?
super important
Especially
to work.
for us, our wives stay at home. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have to bring home the bacon.
It's super important to work.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with working, but when work takes over the
When it
family,
trumps.
then that's a problem.
It has to be ordered in the right.
Correct.
Absolutely.
It has to serve your family, not the other way around.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah. So I think that I haven't pursued like going through the ranks
Mm-hmm.
professionally because I know that going into like climbing the ladder and going up, it's going to require more time that my family is going to suffer. So I want a career or a job that is going to allow me. This is like work-life balance is a very cliche term, but it is very true. And like there are times that I'm made fun of because I leave my desk at 5 or I am offline and they're searching for me again. The helicopter. I'm here. There has been times where I'm made fun of for leaving because I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
have dinner with my family, and that's my thing. Just for being a family man, you start to hear the comments it's like, oh, you have 4 children, like you don't have a TV or something. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
mind your own business, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that vocation and not necessarily with saying that your career is not important or being ambitious is not important, but to what end?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you really doing it? Is it for your own satisfaction? Is because it's going to serve your family better?
Or is it an escape? Just
Right.
be honest with yourself. If you work because don't want to be at home, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a problem. Just calling it as it is, because there's a lot of guys that actually do that. And
that
so-
leads into from absence to presence.
Mhm.
It says in this particular one, presence, not presence.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so fatherhood means to be present. You can't substitute your presence as a father in the home with just gifts. That's kind of like what it's touching on. You want to be invested in your family, seriously invested and want to know how their day went. If you're away from the house because you're working or whatever, they need to know that both quality and quantity time they're going to get from their dad when they get home. So we want to make sure that we put the phone away a little bit when we're talking to our kids. I struggle with that. I'm not going to lie. And they call me out on it a little bit because I have older kids. It's not that I'm glued to my phone, but I do tend to, like, when I'm talking to them, I'm kind of like in with the phone in my hand. And then we want to make sure that we marvel, we take a moment and marvel at who they are and who are they becoming. So look them in the eye, listen to them, speak to them about things that matter, not trivial things, but really things that matter. Share with them how you're doing. My kids are awesome at that. I mean, even I'm at home working from home, and I come out for lunch, and Frida is always the one that asks me, so how's work going?
That's such a grown-up thing to ask.
Yeah, so how's work going, Daddy? Like it's going good. A couple meetings here and there. How's your day going? And when I don't ask her, she would look at me like this, like, are you gonna ask me now? So she's like, she really.
So is she asking you because she wants to know, or is she asking you because
a little bit of both?
Okay,
a little bit of both, but I do think that she's invested in. She wants to know how I'm doing.
Right.
So it's super, super, super cute.
Yeah, I think that working from home has definitely been I don't want to say an upgrade. It has mostly positive things. Because I can hear my children screaming and crying, and I can just pop in real quick and be like,
oh yeah,
what's going on?
It's definitely been a plus for me.
Yeah. And definitely presence, because then I would miss a whole bunch of things. Like Lucia is 18 months and I've been working from home for over a year now, and no se le ve para cuando. So I think that she has had an advantage in that way that,
she has you at home.
Yeah.
When the others didn't, right?
Yeah. And I would get home at 6 p.m.,
And bedtime.
Yeah. So it would be like a very small window of time to, one of the positive things about the global pandemic, I mean, is that at least for me, has been more time to just pop in and, you're having a bad day at work, you go hug your children.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Instead of going kicking the dog. I don't know. If you don't kick the dog.
You don't even have a dog.
Who do you kick?
It's an expression.
It's an expression.
I know.
No, I'm not kicking it. No, I'm kicking
like, damn, what's Walter kicking? He has no dog.
That'd be funny. Oliver's getting to the point where he's like asking for a dog, and I'm like, well, we're gonna have a newborn.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, but when you bring Mateo from the hospital, you can bring a doggy as well. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works, son. He already has a name picked out and everything. He wants a beagle. So
there you go.
We'll see about that. Golden Doodle. Anyways, if you're a dad, you also are picking up poop. So who are we kidding?
Exactly.
They're not going to be responsible for that until they're older.
So jumping to number 6, courage. Have courage to love according to the truth. The truth is that life isn't easy, and neither is being a good Catholic. So this means you can't be a blend-in kind of father. I love that. I think it's...
What does that mean, being a blend-in?
Well, I think for me it means that you're just the type of dad that wants to be friends with his kids.
Oh, no.
Instead of being a father.
No. Oh, yeah. So, okay.
You know what I mean?
Having the courage to correct the children, to teach them, to demand them, to challenge them.
I think a lot of dads, either because they're trying to compensate or because they're trying to be relatable to their kids. Maybe if they have teenage kids or something like that, they tend to be more their friend than their father.
No, please don't do that.
So that's the thing.
That's something that I'm still working on.
Look, like my daughter today, my daughter today called me bro. And I'm like, don't call me bro.
Not
you know what
bro.
I mean?
I'm not your bro.
Exactly.
Pal.
So having that courage.
I did that to Nayeli one time.
Yeah. Having that courage to correct. I wasn't being mean at her, but she needs to know that there's that respect, that line.
Yeah.
Even if she was joking or something, but if I don't correct her then she starts doing it and doing it and doing it, or I start talking to her in the same type of way, then she'll think that that's kind of like okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, and I wasn't doing it to be like mean or anything, but I think it's good for her to recognize that hierarchy in that sense.
Yeah, the thing that I struggle with at the moment, or I'm still practicing on that, is that, you know, if Lily's doing something, like has her hand in something that she shouldn't be have her hand in, or she's doing something she's not supposed to be doing, I'm just like, Lily, no. And Nayeli is like, you need to like go and correct her. Like, you can't just like say, Lily, no. Like, you have to go do something. I'm like, damn it.
But sometimes we're tired.
I mean, we are, but I mean,
That was a joke.
no, I know. No, but it's, you know, like, yeah, like it's very true. Like, I can't just, my words aren't going to like fix everything, you know, like I have to show action. I have to.
For me, it's a 2-step process. If
It's the warning.
if the word didn't get to them, then I get up. They don't get us. They don't get like a bunch of, hey, no. A barrage. If the first no didn't get their attention, in my case, I'm getting up because that gets their attention. You know, and I'm not going over and slapping them or anything, but correcting them, like Nayeli said. You know, like they need to understand that what they're doing at that moment either is not safe or is not right for them, and that's how I kind of like did it.
See, like I kind of want my children to be slightly scared of me, but not too much.
A healthy fear,
A healthy fear.
like fear of the Lord.
Yeah,
I have done that before.
healthy fear.
And I have this really funny video of like the place that we used to live previously had stairs.
Uh-huh.
So Lily would like try to go down the stairs by herself, and I'd be like, Lily, no. And she would just look at me. I'm gonna go. And they'd be like, Lily, and I would stand up, and she would just run back like saying, oh my gosh, and just like run away. I have a video. I'll put it on the show notes.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
Put it on
It's so
Instagram.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so courage. We talked
Mhm.
about that. It's courage to be not a disciplinarian, but you know, to have your kids do the right thing and not be afraid to like exercise your power as a father, right?
Mm-hmm. Because it's for their own good ultimately.
Right.
You know, like it says here, love according to the truth. I mean, don't just like
Yeah.
scold them to get your way, because that teaches them a very poor lesson as well.
Yeah, that's
Authoritarianism.
Esa palabra.
butchered it.
Authoritarian. Yeah. Don't do that. It's like a very fine balance. You're not
Yeah,
like
it
a
is.
cool
I mean,
dad.
everybody's different, you know, and your kids are different than my kids.
Right.
And it's you finding that, like you said, striking that good balance. Because again, you don't want your kids to be like completely terrified of you.
That's true. But I think that it also depends on the personality of your children. Like,
exactly. And it also depends on how your dad impacted you, which we're going to get to here in a little bit. So I just want to get through the second ones to get to the stories.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
You said it like it was you are adding all these fluff to
No,
where I wanna
fluff
get-
away, dude.
No.
This is all good.
7. Love your wife. Moving things along.
So much anger.
I know. We're getting so sassy today.
Saucy.
Is
I was
it be-
talking about you.
Oh. Dang it. Never mind.
Got hot in here again for some reason. No,
Ooh.
I'm kidding. Yeah, so love your wife. So men, you must love and cherish your wives, plain and simple. Your children will learn to love others by how they see you love each other. Super important. You know, we're not telling people something new and big revelation here.
Right.
They will emulate how we love our wives. You know, if you're raising girls, you're raising boys. Raising girls, I mean, that's how you want them to be loved by somebody one day.
Absolutely.
So being caring with your wife, being loving, being of service, you know, being helping out around the house as much as we can. Shows them also a good value in housework and being responsible and stuff like that. But it shows them that you're part of a team.
Yeah, you know, like that was like modeled very. You hit the nail on the head with that, with like being a team. Because I grew up watching my dad like with a broom and a mop in his hands, cleaning, picking up, washing dishes, cooking. He's a real good cook. But it was not like, I don't know if you want to call it traditional, because the generation before them, like my grandparents, is like, the women take care of the children and the parents are at work or whatever. But it was more like it looked modern, I guess if you want to think about it like that. It's like, oh, okay, well, and then that instilled in me like, well, it's okay for men to do that. My dad's doing it, and I admire my dad and all the things that he does. Then I'm gonna do it. So I guess I took that and internalized it to the point where I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna do laundry, or like when I lived by myself, like I was doing all of those things, and it doesn't change because you're married. It's you are a team. You need to make things work together with your wife. So
exactly,
which brings us to the last point, and I think very important one. Number 8: be humble. In any relationship of service and authority, we can quickly become aware of our own weaknesses. I think that and Javar touches on this. Like, if you want to be in a position of authority, you need to serve. Like humility,
servant leadership.
Yeah, servant leadership, humility. You need to have that, and combined with magnanimity. Because if we have a specific vocation with our families, we have this mission, right? And this mission is very lofty, is dragging everybody to heaven, the ones that we are responsible, the souls that we're responsible for. And for that, you will require we will require humility, because we know where we stand, before God, and all of our flaws, and how much we need of Him, which leads us to like the conversion, the love for our wives, and the courage. All these things that we're talking is pretty much a list of virtues that we can practice.
Exactly.
And but if pride can get in the way of a lot of things, right? It can spoil our plans and make it about ourselves and not about the plans that God has.
Exactly.
So
check out our episode on humility.
Viri Virtutis. Oh yeah, we have 12 degrees of humility.
12 degrees of humility is a good one.
From Saint Benedict. And Viri Virtutis is coming out after this?
I think so. No, before.
Before?
Yes.
Okay.
So
before, after. Yeah. By now, you probably realize that we don't record the episodes in order and at dates that are not
super in advance, and sometimes.
Yeah. But sometimes in advance, sometimes the day before. Who knows? That's what you get.
That's what you get.
Yeah.
It can go left, it can go right.
So, to keep you on your toes, guys. Keeping you on your toes. All right. We finished the list, Gustavo.
So with that, I wanted to make sure that we hit like those points, because it's just important, to get a refresher. Or if you're hearing this for the first time, maybe you heard something that kind of like tickle your fancy and say, okay, I can do that. I can start paying more attention to how I'm understanding my vocation, or what is my vocation. So, again, we'll put this link in the show notes. This is coming from an article that we found online. It was super good and super helpful, at least for us. But for the remainder of the show, I just wanted to get into a little bit about our dads. So what was your dad like? How did he help you become the man that you are today?
So for me, my dad worked 2 jobs pretty much his whole life. Like I think I've shared that he was a teacher, and in Mexico, you have like a turno matutino, turno vespertino.
Mhm.
How do you say that? People go to
Yes,
school
you go in the day or in the night or in the late afternoon. Uh-huh.
So the first shift, I guess, would be like from like 7:30 or 8 to like noonish.
Noonish. Uh-huh.
And then the los de la tarde would come in at like 1 p.m. through
Mhm.
like 4 or 5.
Five-ish.
So my dad would teach elementary school in the morning and then middle school in the afternoons. So he would just come home and be like
Mhm.
chopomada, tired being with kids all freaking day long. With
What grade?
Mostly he would do 5th or 6th grade in elementary
Mhm.
school, and then he would teach
Dude, I
Spanish.
can totally see your dad as one of those teachers. That
His persona when he was teaching, it was so different from how he was at home. Like my dad's pretty funny, but and I think that's like both my parents are teachers, and I think that's why this
Mhm.
podcast, like, it's kind of an extension of their genes in me. But he is a very funny man, and that would like come through when he, in his teaching style. But then I would also experience like the very authoritarian side of my dad, that the healthy fear
Mhm.
that you don't want to, like what my mom would say, something like, just wait until your dad gets home, which
Exactly.
is kind of shitty to do. But still, like, it would like instill in me the fear of God, that I knew that I was doing something wrong. And then when my dad would know, like, I would get like the cold, running down your spine, the chills running down your spine, excuse me, because my dad has been like the strong silent type for most of like my formative years. And then seeing my dad having a conversion while I was in my adult years, I think that like opened my eyes and made it so that I was able to have a reversion to the faith, because my dad was dragged to a couples retreat by my mom, and thanks be to God, that was kind of like the spark that rekindled the flame for him to make the faith his own. And I was like, all right, well, I can get behind that, and it just so happened that once he was into that, and he had a community and a group, because of that retreat that he went with my mom, there was an accident that my sister, my older sister, was when she was in her tweens almost. That my sister, not to make the story very long, but she was in hospitals for maybe a couple of years. Bunch of surgeries. She's fine, by the way, just you're listening. But I saw how my dad went through all of that, and how, in a way, he was very stubborn, that he didn't want to surrender my sister to God, and he was fighting for that with prayer, and the power of prayer, and how, thanks be to God, my sister is still with us and doing wonderful things. But that faith saved my parents' marriage, because there's, and even uncles of mine is like, I don't know how your dad handled that, because I would have been crying like a baby if one of my children went through all of that. And I think that's one of the things that, because he has done that, I feel more reassured in my abilities as a father to like do that for my children. It doesn't, it does make a little bit of sense, because it's like, okay, I am his son, so there's some of that in me that I just need to tap into in order to do that. So that was like that has been like the life lesson, I
Mhm.
think, of me seeing my dad through that lens. I'm like, yes, he got a lot of things right, but that part is like, yeah,
Mhm.
he knows how to suffer. I think that's
Mhm.
how we can sum it up. He knows how to suffer.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How about you, Ivan?
I mean, one thing I really get from my dad is, I think it kind of sounds very cliche, but I mean, it's what I think a lot of this attribute is a lot of boys get from their dad is just their work ethic. I mean, yeah, my dad's been working since he was a kid. Just he's been cooking in the kitchen like I think like over 40 years, I think, something like that. So like he really knows food, and he's always, he's held high positions in the kitchen, like as the head chef at a catering company or at this restaurant, and then he'll get tired of the kitchen and stop and do something else. But then he keeps coming back to the kitchen because that's his passion. Um, and I think he was always meant to be his own boss. I don't think he doesn't like having
A boss.
He's just not like that. So the fact that now he gets to do what he likes to do with Don Taco,
Proud sponsor of Barbatus Catholic Podcast.
Wink, wink. It's a lot of hard work, but it's his passion. Like he loves doing it. So like the thing that I always got, or the thing that I always remember, is that my dad was never, he has his demons.
Who doesn't?
What dad doesn't. He struggled with alcohol growing up, and he was never like the violent type or anything like that. But he was just a great dad, very devoted to his children, and then he was always doing something, even on his days off. It's not just he's in front of a TV just watching TV. Now he kind of does that, like he's getting older, and getting a little bit more tired. But even on his days off, when he's not working, like he built our kitchen table. When you go to my parents' house, kitchen.
He built a lot of things in the backyard.
He built a lot of things, yeah.
Like a pizza oven kind of thing.
Pizza oven, the barbecue thing outside, everything in our backyard, my dad pretty much made. Like he just loves woodworking, working with his hands. He loves cooking, landscaping, all of it. Like my dad does it all. So that, like, every time I would see my dad, he's always doing something. So and I don't know, like that's something that I try to do. It's hard work is what it takes to raise your family, to support your family, and I just want to be like my dad.
Yeah,
be a man of action.
Absolutely,
love it.
So for me, same as you, Ivan, and you too, Walter. Like you said, your dad had like 2 jobs essentially.
Yeah,
morning and late afternoon teacher. I always admire the crap out of those teachers, by the way. When I was a kid, when I got into like junior high and stuff like that, that's when I kind of like saw that, okay, you guys are here like pretty much all day then. That's amazing. That's amazing to me. Yeah, for my dad, it was the same, the crazy work ethic. My dad like worked 8 days a week, pretty much. He started working since he was 8 years old. Selling the newspaper. He told me that they would like go sell the newspaper during their like recess in school. Him and his brother, and that would help support their family. He was obviously totally devoted to us and our well-being. He supported our decisions, no matter what. He wasn't crazy by the idea of me like studying graphic design, because back then it wasn't a well-known career or way to make a living, at least not that he was aware of.
Yeah.
Because my brothers have like engineering and like IT degrees and like accounting and stuff like this. So he was like, I have no idea how you're going to make a living with that. but we'll figure it out. So he supported me, even though he was like completely in the dark about what graphic design was. And that's amazing to me that he supported me, even though it was going to be, again, pricey, because I had to go to like out of town for college. So that type of confidence that he had in us all the time, amazing discipline, the most disciplined man I've ever met. Even into his 60s, he would still run 3 miles every day in the morning.
Damn.
Wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go running. You know, he was always, I think he still wears the same size pants that he did when he was 20 years old. You know, that level of discipline. My dad doesn't drink. My dad doesn't smoke. I mean, he did that when he was like a teenager, but he's always been very his own master, you know. He loved his love for books, you know, that he instilled in us. Even though growing up I wasn't that much of a reader, but now I see why he was so adamant about us being readers. Because now I'm slowly getting there. I really like and enjoy reading now, and I do it for pleasure now. Before it was just like a drag when I was a kid and in school and had to do a book report or whatever. But no, my dad was just like super adamant about us being readers and stuff like that. So
that's funny. I thought that was Carolina.
It was in my later life.
Okay.
But my dad, when we were like young, he would like push us so much. That's why my dad, like, I mean, he loves all of his daughters-in-law, but he really relates to Caro in that sense because they both love reading. Like when Caro and I were dating, or like when we were recently married, yeah, my dad and Caro could spend hours talking about books and literature. So
Caro, ya vámonos.
Yeah, I was like, sweetie, the game's over. It's been over for 3 hours. Can we leave?
One more chapter.
So I just got to tell a quick story about my dad. That doesn't pertain to me specifically, but this is, I'll paint a picture of what kind of dad my dad is. So one of my brothers was struggling with math in school a little bit, and he came one day from school with an A+ in math, or un 10, no. And my dad grabbed him and grabbed the grade and marched back to the school and said, "This is not right. My kid didn't get this grade because I know my kid and he didn't get this grade." And the teacher was like saying, "Well, you know what? We kind of like averaged out like math with like PE or whatever, just, you know, because they needed to clear out kids from one grade because the other grade was coming up behind them." Essentially, they were trying to like give him an easy pass. And my dad was like, "That is not acceptable." And my brother wasn't dumb or anything. He was just like lazy, how any kid is lazy with math sometimes. But the fact that my dad walked back to the school and told the teacher, "My son didn't get this grade. You give him the grade that he should get." You know, I know him. I do homework with him. And I sure as hell know that he didn't get an A. Maybe a B. Maybe a high C+, but not an A+. So yeah, so that was the type of dad my dad was. You know, he's like, that is unacceptable to me.
I want to know, like, did your brother get his grade corrected after that?
I think he did.
That's so.
I think he did. Yeah.
Me le pone la calificación que se sacó el niño.
Pero señor, era un 0. No me importa.
Póngaselo.
Póngale el 0.
Redondo.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. And he tells that story all the time, and I love it. You know?
Nice. And that's funny because I met your dad, and that's not like the impression that I got from him. So
that's a story for another podcast.
Yeah. Dude, that Christmas Eve dinner was something else. It is also like your dad, like he tells it like it is.
Oh yeah. So, he doesn't know who you are. He doesn't care who you are.
Yeah.
He just cares what he knows and what he can tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you know, I think Father's Day, celebrate your dads. Get closer to our father, and drawing closer to him will only bring about very fruitful and a virtuous fatherhood for you.
Go check out our episode 8 on Saint Joseph for another great example of a father, model of a father.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we thank you for listening to this episode of Barbatus Catholic Podcast, the show where 3 Mexican dads talk about faith, life, and culture. If you like the show, please consider subscribing to the podcast, sharing it on social media, leaving a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, and recommending it to your friends and family. And if you didn't like it, well, just keep it to yourself and let others make their own mistakes. You can follow us on Instagram at Barbatus Catholic Podcast. Send us an email at hello@barbatuscatholicpodcast.com. On the web, we are at www.barbatuscatholicpodcast.com, where you'll find the show notes for this episode and more. Please don't give your dads ties for Father's Day.
Or socks.
Or well, no, I would take socks, but
Cool socks.
cool socks. Like
Tequila or nothing else.
tequila. Anyways. And with that, bless Alanis Casey.
Pray for us.
Until the next time.